Hello and welcome. This is Matthias 76. Together, we are decoding the deception, and we are continuing our study in the book of John. We're here at the second phase of Jesus' trial, and this is his appearance before Pontius Pilate that has two parts, and we will be looking at the first of those interactions here this evening. And I will read the portion of the text that we are going to cover, and then we can begin to discuss it. Then Pilate entered the praetorium again, called Jesus, and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered him, "Are you speaking for yourself about this, or did others tell you this concerning me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight so that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from here." Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" Jesus answered, "You say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is on the side of truth hears my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" And when he had said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, "I find no fault in him at all." Pontius Pilate is a fascinating character, a fascinating figure in history, a tragic figure in history. There are so many different things that can be discussed as we look at this section of John's gospel. I want to focus in on a couple of them, and especially on one. But he's there in the praetorium. This was a fancy building where Pilate would hold court and where the official governance of Judea, Palestine, was carried out. And he comes to him and he asks him, based on his discussion with the Jews, he asks him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" First of all, we use the word king as meaning not much of anything, honestly. You can go to a fast food joint and they'll give you a cardboard crown as king. You can be the burger king. You can be the king of this. You can be the king of comedy. The word king wasn't likely used, especially when you were under the authority of the Roman Empire. And when you hear Roman Empire, what we need to do to get our minds into the proper headspace to understand what that signified to these people, to this audience, the audience to which John was still writing some 60 years later. When you think Roman Empire, think of a mighty, well-armed giant standing over you with the power to squash you at any time, who governs you under very strict rules and regulations. And there was only one king, and that was Caesar. That's why they would try to get Jesus to say things like he was a ruler that had authority, because it would have put him in Dutch. Probably shouldn't have used that expression because it just confuses things. It would have gotten him in a whole lot of trouble with the Roman authorities. But Jesus never fell into any of their traps. So this question isn't just, hey, they're saying this silly thing that you're a king. This is important. This is significant. Are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus asks a very logical question. Are you speaking for yourself about this, or did others tell you this concerning me? He's trying to get Pilate to stop, to back up, and to think. Have you heard anything about me claiming to be a king? That certainly would have come to your attention. Are you curious on your own? Because don't forget, he is this guy in chains standing before Pilate, but he is the Lord God of heaven and earth. He rules and governs everything. And he invites all, even Pontius Pilate, even Caesar himself, to come and be received through faith into his eternal kingdom. So there are a lot of, when Jesus asks a question, we always have to stop and think about it from many different angles. And I think that's at least a good summary of some of the possibilities of what is included in Jesus' thought. Pilate answered, am I a Jew? It was just the last thing Pontius Pilate wanted to be, was a Jew. You know, that's like asking a Boston Red Sox fan if he's a Yankees fan. He didn't want to be a Jew. Am I a Jew? It's your nation and your priests have delivered you to me. And what have you done? It's your people, he's saying. They're coming with this accusation. I'm not one of them. What have you done? It's a serious charge. And Jesus isn't ever, through all of this trial, through all that goes on, he never once has a look of fear or desperation or even anxiety in his eyes. By their reckoning, and Pontius Pilate, we can beat Pontius Pilate up in all kinds of different ways. He chickens out and takes the path of least resistance and governs in the worst way possible by doing that which is expedient and giving in to the Jews. But he wasn't an idiot. You didn't get to be the Roman governor of the most troubled Roman province without being a very, very capable man. He could judge people, and Jesus's reactions, Jesus' response, the responses that he gives, his demeanor, his bearing, don't fit the situation. And so he's curious. He's intrigued. Jesus answered. In this first part, we've been studying the book of Revelation on this channel for 5 years, and I've referred to this passage often. John 18:36, my kingdom is not of this world. Would the Jesus who said that talk about coming back and establishing an earthly kingdom that's only temporary here? No. Okay, we've got that out of the way. Just had to say it. My kingdom is not of this world. And everything he says here is elevated. He's trying to get Pontius Pilate, everyone who hears, everyone who will hear. Can you imagine the number of souls who have heard this passage? He's speaking to us all. My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight so that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from here. You notice I've got that word servants highlighted. That word servant is not the normal word for servant, doulos, which is household servant, the guy who washes your feet when you come in the door. We are servants of our God. It's that, there's that word. This is a different word altogether, hyperetes, and the word is what John uses consistently through the gospel for the Jewish guard for the Sanhedrin. It's a military term. Jesus is back to the garden, right? He said, I am he, and he knocked him down with his word. If Jesus didn't want to be here, if this was about a kingdom here, Jesus' servants, the heavenly host, the B'nai Elohim, Gabriel, those guys would have been stomping people, but they were watching, rapt attention from the heavenly realm. It's not about here. It's not about now. It is about that heavenly realm, the eternal realm, and it is about our souls. My servants would fight so that I should not be delivered to the Jews, but now my kingdom is not from here. Pilate therefore said to him, are you a king then? Pilate's quite observant, capable of following the main thoughts. He talks about having a kingdom. He says he's got a kingdom. If you've got a kingdom, you're a king. Pilate therefore said to him, are you a king then? Now, think about what Jesus says here, and think about what he said all the way through this gospel. In his discourse, the conflict, those contentious exchanges with the Jews, the leadership of the Jews, Jesus answered, you say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world. How many times is just that concept laid out, that I should bear witness to the truth? Back to John 8. You are of your father, the liar. I can't lie. I'll tell you exactly who I am, what I am, why I'm here, who I represent. I can't represent anything else. That I should bear witness to the truth. John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. And Pontius Pilate's reaction, most of the time when this text is read, the way Pontius Pilate said this, I don't think is accurately portrayed. Pilate said to him, "What is truth? What are you talking about? Truth? What is truth?" This was an educated, powerful, influential man of this world. And he said, "What is truth?" He thought Jesus was out of his mind. What are you talking about, truth? The message, there is no truth. That's what Pilate was saying. There is no truth. What is truth? You're talking about a fairy tale. And if you look at this world and you see it for what it is, a downward spiral of decadence, decay, depravity, despair, hopelessness, people chasing after all the things of this world, it's because when you don't have what Jesus offers, which is the truth, you're trying to find something somewhere. What is the truth? Jesus is the truth. And we talk about that. We say it. What does it mean? What does it mean? And I'm just going to talk about this for a little while, because there is no way that I, in the 15-20 minutes that we have left in the time of this video, can adequately condense what all of this is, that Jesus is the truth, into this period of time. And you could talk for eternity and not cover it. The fact that Jesus was here, that God became man, assumed human flesh, was conceived as a man, even though he always was, and will remain being, continue to be, the eternal, omnipotent, omnipresent, loving, infinite God. What does that tell us? It tells us about the greatness of our God. It tells us about the love of our God, his care for the creation who wish to cast him out and take things into their own hands, his love for them. And on the other side of that, the depravity and sickness of this world. How bad is this world? It's so bad that what we're reading about today had to happen. God had to come down, become a man, live a perfect life for all mankind, even though they in no way deserved it, take upon himself, as though picking it up on his shoulders, like he carried that cross out to Gethsemane, down that Via Dolorosa, the way of tears. He took up our sin upon himself, carried it as his burden, took the blame for it, and died so that we might be free. Our sin is gone. We have been set free. It is through faith, simply believing that blessed promise, that gift, that we become a part of that we become those who are of the truth. We're of the truth. He who is the truth indwells within us. He makes us his, and he is ours. He deigns to be called our brother. So that's the truth. That's the truth. And when you don't have that, when you reject any part of that, then you are destined to a life of hopelessness. And what do hopeless people do? They try to find something to fill the void. You're destined, when you reject the truth, to a life of pain and misery. What do people who suffer pain and misery do? They medicate, they drink, they take substances to alter the way they feel. Those who are part of the truth have the indwelling of Jesus Christ, the indwelling of the Spirit, have that faith relationship, that rock solid anchor in the truth, Even though we are here still in this world of sin, we are directly connected to, anchored to, tethered to the eternity that awaits us, that is all about the final consummation, the fulfillment of the truth. When we have that, we don't need all of those other things. And the more active we are in that relationship, because it is a relationship. What does a relationship mean? Can you have a relationship with someone with whom you do not speak? Can you have a relationship with someone, a loving relationship, and not want to know more and more and more about them, to understand them? Can you truly be someone who knows that they are all about the truth, the one who is their Savior, and not want to be doing things that leads us to know Him better? And so I'm talking about being in the Word, letting the truth inform me, enlighten me, letting the truth warn me about the dangers of this world, letting the truth lead me on a path of righteousness for His name's sake, because He's my good shepherd. And I know, because I'm not all that smart, and because I am a sinful human being in this sinful world, that the things of this world, they call to me and they appeal to me, and I desire them. But life experience has taught me that they don't take me anywhere that I want to be. They lead me into misery and despondency and hopelessness. And the Good Shepherd, what does He do? He leaves the 99 and He comes and gets me. And He does that. Don't forget that when the Good Shepherd, the sheep were left in safety. He left the 99. They were there in the pen, and there were other people to watch them. When He walked out, he was willing to deal with the lion and the bear and whatever threats might be there. And that's what He's doing here. This is Christ's sacrifice on the cross, Him walking this path without fear, without hesitation. It is Him coming, and it is the finality of Him seeking and saving that which was lost. And that's you, and it was me. But now we're not lost. The other way to look at the truth is a light. What does the light do? They've got this commercial running on the TV where I live watching. Now you watch Amazon and they give you commercials there. So even when you're watching your weird British crime dramas or whatever you're watching, they pop these commercials on. And one of them is for a local pest control company. And they advertise that they've got thermal imaging cameras so they can walk into your house and walk around and point the camera different places. And they can see where the termite damage is, where they're working, what they're doing. It's as though it's a light that penetrates everything, right? And I know that's not what thermal imaging does, but this is just a picture, right? The light penetrates. The light lays everything bare. In the book of Hebrews, we're told that everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of Him to whom we must give account. That's what light does. In the brightest of lights, that is Jesus Christ, who is the light of the world, in the brightest light, everything is shown for what it is. I'm shown for what I am. You're shown for what you are. All of us are shown for what we are, and the sinful response to that is to flee. It is to put your hand over your eyes, to stop it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Ow, that hurts, and I don't want anyone to see this stuff about me because I know what a sinful wretch I am. But the other part of that light is the saving message of God's grace. He doesn't care how much of a sinful wretch you are. You know why? Because He already knows. He already knows, and He's already paid the price to save us. So that light, admitting that there is truth, acknowledging the light, puts you in a difficult position. You have to then deal with it. If this is truth, if this guy Jesus is truth, if everyone on the side of truth hears His voice, where does that put me? And it brings us to that all-important question. My relationship, what is it? My relationship with Jesus Christ, the one who is the King of all, the one who is the truth and the light and the way, all of those things. What is my standing with Him? Pilate's reaction, what is truth? What are you talking about? And he walked away. And I'm sure Pilate's thinking he certainly wasn't going to be educated, illuminated, and made wise by this Jewish peasant who was in front of him. But there was something about Jesus. Pilate doesn't want to execute him. Pilate doesn't want to give in to the Jews, and we'll see that. There was something there that Pilate recognized, that he saw, but we'll get into that more in the next section as we move along. But Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" And when he had said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, "I find no fault in him at all." Now stop and think about that with what I've just said. Jesus said, "I'm a king." Jesus said, talked about his kingdom, talked about his servants, which was a military term. The word was used many ways, but it was more often connected with governance and military servants of that type. Pilate had cause. You think about it. By his standards, he had cause. This guy claims to be a king. So what does that tell us about Pilate? Pilate knew that these Jews weren't up to anything good. They started off with, if he weren't a bad guy, we wouldn't have brought him to you. That's starting from a position of evasiveness and weakness. So there's that. He's not inclined to believe what they're saying, but he had evidence. He could have done something. It wouldn't have resulted in Jesus being executed. That didn't have to happen. But he could have imprisoned him because he was claiming to be a king. He had the power to do that. For non-citizens, there was no court of appeal. Later in the book of Acts, Paul is going to appeal to Caesar. And the ruler, I can't remember which one it was, Festus, I think, says, "You have appealed to Caesar, you will go." But Paul was a Roman citizen. Jesus isn't a Roman citizen. Whatever Pilate said, that was going to happen. No court of appeal. None of the rights that you and I think of. You had the grace that a governor was willing to give you, and you had the punishment that he deemed fit for you, and there was nothing to be done about it. But he doesn't want to give in to these people. He's going to try to set Jesus free. Now I'm getting ahead of myself, but he says, "I find no fault in him at all." What do you notice about that statement? Could have stopped here. I find no fault in him. But it goes on to say, at all. He's being emphatic. There's nothing here, guys. There's nothing here. You've bothered me on a Saturday or whatever, and there's nothing here. As far as he's concerned, this needs to go away. Now, we'll talk about more of the political intrigue and how that dynamic comes into play and leads Pontius Pilate into the path of expediency, etc., as we move forward. But I hope this talk and discussion about the truth, what it means that he is the truth, and how that understanding allows you and me to see ourselves in this world, and to see ourselves in this world rightly, how we are to operate in this world, how we are to see this world, and all of those things are about perspective. What perspective? How is my perspective enlightened and guided by the fact that Jesus is the truth? The world doesn't like the truth. The world is desperately trying to fill itself up with other things because it rejects the truth. But I am of the truth. It leaves us with the question, how shall I then live? I pray this teaching has been a blessing to you. I thank you for watching. I thank you for leaving comments. I thank you for your support, the support you give when you hit that thumbs up, the support you give when you leave a comment, and when you share this video. This is Matthias 76. Together, we are decoding the deception. And we need to decode the deception because we have the truth and the world is full of deception. God bless and have a great day.